Your insiders today are Chris Johnston and Darren Dreger. It's become an annual event that around trade deadline time, the Jets are looking for a second center, but maybe not as urgent right now, Dregs?
No, I think that's fair. And frankly, James, we look around the contending teams in the National Hockey League, there aren't too many that aren't looking for some help up the middle of the ice and looking for another top four or top five defenseman. And for the most part, that is Winnipeg. But because of an injury to Nemestikov, they've had to alter their lines. And that means Captain Adam Lowry has been thrown into the second line center spot. And again, it's a small sample size, but they really like what they see. I mean, the size is there, the physicality, the hockey IQ. He can shoot. He can do so many good things. So if this continues up to the deadline and the Winnipeg Jets aren't injured, maybe this allows Kevin Cheveldayoff to take a more versatile approach. And instead of specifically looking at center ice, maybe he just grabs the best forward available at that point.
The Toronto Maple Leafs lost their second-line center in John Tavares. It didn't look good when he went down in practice. One of those awkward falls, CJ, but the worst-case scenario is all ruled out?
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. A few sighs of relief for anyone who saw that video and cares about the Leafs, or anyone that was at practice on Wednesday when Tavares went down, throws his gloves down. You're right, didn't look good at all. But, you know, the Leafs have officially listed Tavares as week to week. I'm told that could be as short as 2 weeks before he's back in the Leafs lineup. And this is a bit of an unusual situation all around. John Tavares, in his 7 years as a Leaf, has played 97% of the games. This guy hasn't missed much time, and the fact that it isn't going to be a long-term injury, I think, allows them not to have to worry about speeding up any looks at bringing in extra help. And obviously good news that he won't be dealing with anything too serious before he's back.
We all expect Chicago's rebuild to continue as they'll be active heading up towards the deadline. Taylor Hall's name has been out there. Any potentially surprise names out of Chicago, Dregs?
Yeah, veteran defenseman Seth Jones. I mean, that name is a surprise to me. But again, let's not play with semantics here. It's not like Kyle Davidson and the Chicago Blackhawks are shopping the defenseman. I mean, he's got a pile of years left at $9.5 million AAV. His contract doesn't expire until 2029, 2030, and he has the full no-move clause across the board. But look, he's a quality defenseman. And yes, teams are calling and they're asking about Seth Jones' availability. So it's going to be something that we have to continue to watch as Kyle Davidson, again, puts some form of stamp in this fight through the rebuild of the Chicago Blackhawks.
The St. Louis Blues sitting in fifth in their division right now, 3 points out of a wild card spot, but the general manager not happy, Dregs?
Now, getting a bit feisty, and I think we can understand why. I mean, Doug Armstrong has been the architect of change for a long time in St. Louis, including this year, and a drastic change, right, in firing his coach and bringing in Jim Montgomery. The St. Louis Blues have not been consistent, have not played good hockey of late. The coach is frustrated, and now the general manager is as well. He recently visited the dressing room and relayed the message that, look, this is an important month. January is big. They're just outside the wild card cut line in the Western Conference, so there's time on their side. But he basically said, look, if you guys aren't going to get the job done, I'm going to start moving bodies and I'll change some things moving forward here. So not a threat, but just an acknowledgement from the GM that he needs more.
Guys, we're less than a month away from Four Nations now. We've been talking about it all year, plenty of hype around the rosters, etc. But is there concern about lack of interest as far as ticket sales, CJ?
Well, there are plenty of good seats still available, and I would say that's enough to set off at least a few alarm bells for the NHL and the NHL Players Association. I mean, how much concern depends who you talk to. Some are really worried about this, others a little bit less so, but there is certainly consensus that after such a long time waiting for international hockey to come back with the best NHL players, they can't do it in front of an empty building. And so I think you're going to see a real push here to sell tickets. Some targeted marketing is planned for later this month. And they do have some tickets to sell because there's a lot of games and a lot of them are unaccounted for at this point.
Canada opens up against Sweden in Montreal just under 4 weeks from now.